So thanks so much, Hunter. And there's a lot there in terms of innovation and missing out on innovation, like the example of GE, et cetera, and hanging on to some of the outdated technologies for a bit too long. And I think what I want the students to focus on are a couple of scenarios that we're talking about, a couple of things that it would just be good to imagine for a moment. And that's the one that you're mentioning with Tony Seba, that in 2030, all energy will be renewable.
If Tony is right.
So then if you were to sort of challenge the students, like, what is it that they should think about? If Tony is right, what is the consequence for the company that you have chosen, right?
Well, consider GE. Here was one of the leading big industrial successful companies. They must own share of, if you have a stock portfolio, you've got to hold GE stock, to a company that is being parted out. In 2019, they looked at selling their light bulb company because they couldn't grasp the success of the renewable revolution. And in 2019, GE partnered with BlackRock, the big financial company, to do a distributed solar and storage business. This is residential scale solar. What had been happening up until then is big utility scale solar. The prices of that have been falling dramatically. In 2019, Portugal won what I call the Walmart Everyday Low Price Award, 1.6 cents a kilowatt hour for utility scale solar. In California, there is utility scale solar and storage on offer at 1.9 to 2.7. And in China, distributed solar, so solar on your rooftop, which has always been more expensive, and storage is now cheaper than Chinese grid electricity, which comes mostly from large coal plants, except China is closing coal plants at a great rate. So is your business dependent on energy? What kind of energy? Where do you get your energy? Have you started to pivot to a commitment to being zero net emission carbon and 100% renewably powered? Companies like Unilever have done this. Why? Because it's better business. And again, this is the lesson of GE. Oh, come on, coal will come back. Natural gas. Natural gas is the transition fuel. We're going to hang on to Alstom. And it took them down.
So students, I want you to pay attention to this and just assume, if this is right, what is the company that you're choosing? What's the exposure to that risk? And what could they be doing to innovate? So just keep that in mind. And
Here's
we have a couple
risk.
of big trends. Yeah.
Climate change. What is your supply chain? Is it going to be affected by more and more violent storms? This is now a concern for companies around the world. Do you depend on agriculture for any of your supply chain? Unilever committed to 100% sourcing only from sustainable agriculture. How long is your supply chain? What is your waste stream? Companies now are committing to zero waste, to being part of a circular economy in which whatever might have been waste for them becomes an input for some other company. Or they figure out through better design, better innovation, how to eliminate waste. Waste is unsaleable production. You pay to make it, but you're not selling it to anybody.
So there are at least two big drivers, right? It's the one is the energy piece, which affects most organizations one way or the other because they're using energy. And then the downstream, in some way, the supply chain. In what way are folks, actually not even companies directly, but in their supply chain for what they're producing, exposed to the risk of energy, but also the agricultural dimension? In what way? I want students to pay attention. You can identify those risks. That's going to be critical. And
Here's
that's
another,
also, I think.
Here's another risk. Inequality. What is your social license to operate? Companies that are not appreciated, or worse, companies that are reviled, have a very hard time continuing to operate. Walmart left Germany. They didn't pass any rules against them, just the Germans refused to shop there because of Walmart's social policy. And I've talked to the man who rode that down, and he can tell you the billions of dollars that Walmart lost. When Walmart announced its green initiatives, it cut in half the number of people saying, I will never shop at a Walmart. Then some stupid store manager put out a box so that Walmart associates could donate canned goods so that the poorer associates could afford to have a Thanksgiving. They just shot themselves in the head and erased the gains they had gotten from their green initiatives. So how are you treating your people? Do you have an engaged workforce? Companies with an engaged workforce have 18% higher productivity, 16% higher profitability. Are you caring about the well-being of your workers? Because if you are, you will have greater profitability. Again, this isn't out of the goodness of your heart. This is better business. We're not talking about polar bears here. We're talking about profits.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Hunter. And it's important to understand that this is not an either or, it's a both and it's a better than option. So in many ways, how can you create and innovate towards a better, a finer future, as you call it, right? And so it's wonderful that you've been with us. And students, I want to just focus on the two challenges from the energy, from the planetary boundaries for now. We're going to focus on some of the challenges the social sustainability presents later. For now, if you can just look at your company and figure out what is the risk that they're exposed, that company is exposed to, and what can it do to innovate. You've heard a number of issues that Hunter was raising here. There's more to be said, that's for sure. And Hunter is a great resource for that. So check out her book, and also other kind of talks that she has given, A Finer Future. That could guide you with some ideas also for the assignment in this exercise. Thanks so much, Hunter.
My pleasure, Michael. Good to be with you.